Hello my friends, it's time for one of our monthly luxury Q&As where I try to answer all your MS questions and dilemmas, at least based on my experience. Now I do have to apologize if you guys can hear that there's something off with me today. I think I am losing my voice. It's nothing serious. We were just at the beach with the baby yesterday and I think I might have caught a little bit of a cold. I don't think it's anything more serious than that, but I do have a cup of tea in front of me. Maybe you should get one too because I think we're going to be here for a while. I had a chance to go through some of your questions earlier just because by being a little bit more organized, I'm hoping I'll be able to get to more of your questions, all of which are amazing, by the way. So if you send me a question, just know that I appreciate you. But some of the topics that stood out to me that I definitely want to discuss with you today are my thoughts on buying and selling Hermes bags pre-loved. I would approach that topic. Authenticating Hermes bags at home was the approach that I would feel most comfortable with. My thoughts on some new Hermes bags, including the new re-released Constance 24, which I cannot wait to discuss with you. And of course, some tips and tricks on building a relationship with Hermes. So if any one of these topics sound interesting to you, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on marching. What is the best Hermes leather for a Birkin and why? I think you might be asking the wrong person because I'm quite traditional when it comes to Birkins. I prefer my Birkins in a green skin, even though they tend to be quite heavy, and Birkins are already heavy to begin with, but especially if they're made of a grained, heavier, more sturdy skin, they're going to be that much heavier. So I do have to say that if you buy a Birkin in a grain skin, something along the lines of Togo or Clemence, it is going to feel a lot heavier than if you got it in a smoother skin. But personally, I just prefer that slouchy lived-in look that green skins have as they age without you having to worry about scratching and marking them too much. So personally, when it comes to Birkins, I love them in Togo. Clemence I also like, although I prefer how Togo ages. Clemence is just a tiny bit softer and it has the tendency to go a little bit more shiny faster than Togo would, and that's why I would opt for Togo over Clemence, but I don't think you could go wrong with either one of them. And then if you're looking for a lighter weight bag, definitely try to get a bag in Epsom. I personally wouldn't get a Birkin retorn in Epsom because Epsom just does not suit a retorn bag, not only aesthetically, but also the way the bag ages. Epsom will not be able to hold up well. It will start cracking, it will scratch, the corners will start wearing really fast. So if you want a lightweight Birkin, I would opt for a Birkin Cellier in a small size in Epsom leather because you do get the structured look and you also get a more lightweight bag. Personally, I'm not a big Birkin Cellier kind of guy. I just find the bag extremely wide. Considering how small some of these Birkin Cellier bags are, I just find them to be too wide for the proportions, and they can be quite a challenge to get in and out of because the opening is going to be tight. So I personally, when it comes to Birkins, would just recommend that you opt for a good old Birkin Togo. Obviously, you can go for any one of the sizes that you like and whichever size suits you best, but a Birkin Togo is just the creme de la creme in my humble opinion. What is the best Hermes piece for a new collector? It depends on what you're looking for. I would definitely check out the Kelly wallet, which I don't want to talk about anymore because I have been going on and on and on about how much I love the Kelly wallet, and I don't want to bore you with the details. Instead, I'll just make sure to have a video linked up here where I discuss my love for the Kelly wallet, which is truly an obsession at this point, but that is an incredible piece that I don't hear too many people talking about. I mean, people rave about the Kelly to go, but I personally prefer the original Kelly wallet. I would definitely pick up the Gallop ring in rose gold. It comes in a ton of different sizes, so you can decide if you want something a little bit more subtle and wearable, or if you want something that is a little bit more show-stopping. That's definitely something that I would look into. I would pick up a piece of ready-to-wear from Hermes, just so you get an idea for what Hermes has to offer. Their knitwear is stunning, although quite expensive, but nothing short of divine. So if you're willing to invest in a piece, Hermes knitwear is something that I would look into. And then when it comes to bags, I would say that if you are a true collector, maybe try to pick up a mini Kelly sooner rather than later, just because I have this, what would you call it, conspiracy, just because it is without any rhyme or reason. I mean, I cannot tell you that this is based on any insights that I have. It's just something that I personally think, which is that the mini Kelly at one point will be discontinued. I said this before and I'll say it again. I don't think it's going to be today or tomorrow. You don't have to worry about that. But because the mini Kelly was launched as a limited edition bag, I wouldn't be surprised if at one point it was discontinued for a few years or maybe a decade, and then they re-released it, which is what they usually do. So I always like to say that if you're a collector, or if you're going back and forth between a few different bags, and the mini Kelly is one of them, perhaps make that your first choice. Again, not because I know that it's going to be discontinued, but it's just a hunch that I've had for a couple of years now. Do you know if Hermes could offer a special order with the crocodile touch? So that is a great question, and do correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a little while since I last placed a special order bag. But when I placed my special order bag a few years ago, it wasn't an option for you to mix and match different leathers. So you couldn't say that I want my bag to be made of, let's say, Togo, but I want the sangles to be made of exotic skin, which is what a touch bag would be. Personally, I don't think that's something that Hermes offers. If you've heard otherwise, please let me know in the comment section. It's not something that I checked recently or ever, to be honest. I mean, when I placed my special order, I did ask if I could add just a touch of exotic, and they told me that you cannot mix and match different leathers, because I guess it would be quite hard to keep track of when a craftsman is working on a certain bag. So I don't think that is something that is offered currently. But if you love touch bags, I do have an entire dedicated video on why I personally don't think that touch pieces are worth the money. What's your favorite travel bag? Thoughts on the HAC 40? When it comes to Hermes bags, if you're looking for an Hermes travel bag, I would definitely want to put the Hermes grooming bag on your radar. It's a bag that I have loved traveling with. The Her bag is also a great travel bag. I personally like to travel with a canvas bag over a leather bag, just in case they ask you to put your bags underneath your seat or in the overhead bin. I just don't want to put my leather bags through that. So what I usually do is I either use one of these bags that I mentioned and then put my leather bags inside, or there is another bag that I love, which is from the brand MZ Wallace, which I talked about a couple of times. I think, when was the last time I mentioned that bag? Probably in one of my recent travel vlogs. So maybe if you check out my London travel vlog, you can see that bag in action. I love that bag because it is quite padded. It is incredibly lightweight. So it fits a ton of bags. You can definitely put a Birkin inside, a Kelly inside, or whatever bag you're traveling with, just to kind of protect it from the outside. Not to mention that if you don't want to travel with a really easily recognizable bag, traveling with a bag that is not necessarily branded might be a wise choice. But these are some of the bags that I like to travel with. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't ever take a Birkin or a Kelly with me on a trip, or my Constance, but I usually like to have those inside a larger bag, all nicely nested and protected inside. Also, the mini Kelly is a bag that I used to travel with quite a lot because it fits my passport, it fits my AirPods, and that's pretty much it. Maybe a hand sanitizer. So if you're looking for a smaller bag, the mini Kelly also makes surprisingly a pretty good travel bag. Now, when it comes to the HAC, I am personally not an HAC kind of guy. I don't appreciate the proportions. I don't like how short the handles are. I don't like how deep the bag is. I just feel like it really quickly becomes a bottomless pit, and it is also insanely heavy, which is of course something that you have to keep in mind when it comes to traveling. So personally, I wouldn't find an HAC the most practical travel bag. I mean, it is insanely chic. So if you always charter or fly private, definitely invest in an HAC 40 or 50 depending on what size you prefer. But personally, it's just not a bag that I would ever spend my money on. What an interesting question. Advent calendars, yay or nay? Personally, you guys know that I adore Christmas. I mean, there are a few things I love as much as the spirit of Christmas. but I would say no to any luxury advent calendar. I just don't think that they're worth your money. I think they are insanely wasteful, and you know, it's all about the packaging. I really don't think that you get that much value for your money, and this is coming from someone who worked in cosmetic development and marketing for years. Advent calendars are one of the best and most cost-effective ways for brands to recycle unwanted samples and unwanted products. So personally, I wouldn't spend my money on an advent calendar regardless of the brand. If there is something that you like in an advent calendar, because most brands will release previews of what's actually inside, I would much rather buy one or two of the pieces that are inside, because it's so rare for you to buy an advent calendar where you will love every single thing that comes in it. So personally, I would say no to advent calendars, just because you waste so much money, you waste so much product, you waste so much packaging. I understand it's all about the packaging and it's all about the experience, and if it brings you joy, by all means go for it. But what I tend to do, because I am still tempted by advent calendars even though I know I shouldn't buy them, so what I will do is I will look at the preview of what's actually inside, and I'll try to pick up a couple of the full-sized pieces of the products that I am actually interested in. Which belt to get from Hermes for a CEO woman? It couldn't be any easier. You have to get the original CDC belt, because I don't think there's another piece out there that screams that I'm the boss more than the CDC belt. So that's definitely something that you have to add to your collection, because I think it is just an incredibly powerful piece. Now, depending on where you work, it might not be a piece that you want to wear on a regular basis, in which case I would probably put the Pop H belt on your radar. It's a belt that I have been loving recently. It comes in a really nice width, which makes it quite multifaceted, so you can wear it in pants, but also over a dress or a blazer. It's quite understated, even though you get just a pop of H, as the name suggests. It comes in a ton of different colors, and it's just an incredible belt in my opinion. So if you want a boss piece, which I mean, you're already a boss, it's not like a piece will make you a boss, but if you want to let everyone know before you even enter the room, the CDC belt is something that I would love for you to check out, and then the Pop H belt is something that you can not go wrong with. And what is your opinion on Cartier watches? Love your videos. Thank you, and thank you so much for watching. Cartier watches, I think they are stunning. Actually, one of the first watches that I ever looked into was a Cartier watch, which I think is called something balloon. Is it called balloon bleu? Something along those lines. That's a watch that I love the look of, but personally, I could just never bring myself to actually buy a Cartier watch. I just don't think that they're worth the money, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a timepiece expert by any means, but when it comes to watches, the only two brands that I'm really willing to spend the money on are Patek and Rolex. I'm quite traditional when it comes to watches, and as beautiful as Cartier watches are, I just think they are a little bit expensive for what they are and how they hold their value over time. If you love a certain watch, I would definitely recommend that you look into getting it pre-loved, or maybe from a vintage store. You can definitely score some great deals when it comes to Cartier watches. Not when it comes to Rolex and Patek at this point, but when it comes to Cartier watches, they're not pieces that tend to hold their value well. So they're beautiful. I think they are an incredible almost piece of jewelry that of course will tell you the time, but it's not something that personally I would walk into a boutique to spend my own money on. Do you think all Hermes leather goods are getting harder to purchase than previously? Great question. I definitely think so.